glad to see you all here today. And we have an audience with Michelle with us here.
Yeah.
And we're so looking forward for Michelle to tell us a lot more about herself and what her mission is and how she can help more people. But before we get on to that, I would just like to sort of warm you welcome to BAME and say, sorry, Michelle, your music is starting.
Okay, nice one.
It?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, I'm gonna do that now, at least I know it's playing. So before we begin, I just wanna say a little bit about BAME. Now, BAME is an organization, it's a BME organization, but in addition to that, BAME stands for the Business Action Momentum Enterprise. And what it is a group of like-minded business and community organizations who have come together to support each other as we grow together. And near the end, if you allow me, near the end, about 5 minutes before we finish, I would just love to tell you some of the benefits of BAME and how you can join us. So as you listen to the presentation, Michelle is one of our members and we also support her charity. At the end, just before the end, I would love to share how you can benefit from being part of BAME and how to join us. So first, I'm going to just start with Michelle. And Michelle, I just want you to just open up and tell us, who is Michelle? Just a brief summary. Don't go into your whole bio just yet.
All right, okay.
What I would love to do is just to play a clip of that music and what that means to you. And then we're going to discuss some questions around organ donation.
Okay.
So, Michelle, tell us just a little bit of right now, how are you doing? And how is lockdown treating you?
I'm doing okay. In the beginning,
just okay. Tell us a little bit more. Okay is like okay.
In the beginning, I was a bit anxious. I was a bit anxious and a bit scared, and knowing that I wouldn't be able to come out my house for 24/7, so that was a bit hard. So now that lockdown is easing up now, I've been in my house for the past 3 months without coming out at all. I've just been in my garden and in my house. So Tuesday was the first time I actually came out my house and went to my GP's. And when they told me that I had to go and have my blood test last week, I was a bit anxious again. I didn't want to come out my house because I've been very careful all this time. So I went to my GP's on Tuesday, had to go back on Wednesday. They couldn't find no blood. So I had to go all the way to Sandwell Hospital yesterday. And then I had to go back to my GP. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, but it had to be done because usually I go to Papworth every 3-4 months to do my bloods. And because of lockdown, I wasn't able to go to Papworth. So I had to go and do my bloods in Birmingham just to find out I'm doing okay.
Okay, and this is basically because Michelle has been classed as one of the vulnerable persons during this crisis. But I want to take you back. That's how you're doing now. I want to take you back to being first, realizing that there was an issue. Now, some of us probably think like, okay, we know, most of us on the call probably know that you've had a lung transplant and may have made certain assumptions. So what I would love to know is, when did you first, was it something that you were born with, or is it something that came on in life?
No, I first noticed my symptoms soon after I had my daughter. She's 24 years old now. So 22 years ago, I had Nicole. Well, it's 24 years, but it was 22 years when I found out my diagnosis. Okay. So 22 years ago, when I had Nicole, soon after, 3 months afterwards, I was having different symptoms. I was coughing 24/7, non-stop, day and night. I was breathless, feeling breathless. and I was being sick 2 or 3 times a day, about 2 or 3 times a week. And this continued on and off. And I was going to my GP just to find out what was going on. I must have went to my GP about 6 or 7 times during the year, and they would say probably I got a respiratory infection, upper respiratory infection, or I probably got a slight cold. Just take some simple tests, or just take a rest, or even take a trip to Nevis. Because as you know, the atmosphere is different from over here to over there. I would have gone if he had paid for my plane ticket, but no one offered, so I couldn't go. So
And
this
at this
continued
point,
for
you had
about
a
a
young
year.
baby as well.
I had a
You had a young baby as well.
Oh yes, Nicole. She was 3 months then. So
Mm-hmm.
this continued for about a year, going back and forth to the doctors. So eventually my mom had enough, and she took me to the A&E and demanded to see a consultant. So from then I was having different various tests. The first of all, they thought I had psychosis. Then they probably thought I had lupus, but then they diagnosed me with interstitial lung disease. In a simpler terms, lung fibrosis. So yeah.
Wow, you see, which is good to, it's such a powerful story because a lot of us could assume that somebody needing a transplant, it's from birth, or even if you had any defects, it didn't show up until after you had actually given birth, which is it's very
Yeah,
powerful and could easily happen to anyone, you know. So moving
definitely.
on from there, what was your life like once you had been diagnosed? Did the diagnosis make it a little bit easier for you now? At least you knew what was wrong with you. And what was your life before lockdown? What was your life like before the transplant? What was your life? Just give us a little bit of synopsis of what your life was like before that transplant.
Okay, so remember, I need to point this out. I was coughing for 24/7 for 22 years, and I stopped coughing as soon as I had my transplant.
Mm.
So all that affected my living and everything. So I was a full-time self-employed business owner. So I used to do parties. I could still do parties, but I chose to take a break and see
Mhm.
how I am next year. So I was a party planner. So I was doing jobs, weddings, birthdays, funerals, christenings. That was me. About every 2 weeks, I'll be doing something. I like to have a breather. Before that, I was studying. So
Mhm.
I got my H&D in business, BTech in business. Um, Before I started my business as a party planner, I went on a 6-month course, and
Mhm.
all those who passed to get £5,000 towards the business. So
Mhm.
I did a course in that as well.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I was just doing my business as a
You're
party
just doing your
planner.
thing until.
Yeah, I used to be lively and active. Then I was deteriorating probably about 10 years before my transplant. But
Okay.
before, I was very strong, and I was
Mhm.
supporting other people and doing my business.
Okay, so that's quite, yeah. So you had quite a full life before that. I mean, as a
Yeah,
party planner, you
I
were
did.
meeting people, and then the, as your condition worsened, you could
Yeah.
physically see the deterioration.
But it was a slow deterioration.
Okay.
Luckily for
Mhm.
me, I was still able to work. So I gave up working about 5 months before my transplant. And by then, I was on oxygen, and I was still
Okay.
getting out and doing my thing.
So you mentioned oxygen now. So you said about 10 years before
Yeah,
that. So what I want to understand is that once you were diagnosed now,
yeah,
and if anybody's going through that, you now got to find out whether somebody's going to be a match for you, and especially within our community. What was that feeling like? What was it? What was going through your mind, or even your mom, because she would be there with you?
okay,
You had a
okay,
young one as well. What was,
yeah.
what was the prognosis at that time?
Okay, when I went down to Papworth, because my doctor from City Hospital, he referred me to Papworth Hospital because they were the best specialists in the world. So I went down to Cambridge, and I was going back and forth for a couple of years just to get used to them and be told about transplant and what I would be expecting after the transplant, before the transplant, during the transplant. So when they first mentioned that, I was a bit skeptical about it, and I was a bit scared because, as you know, to me, it's mainly just the English people that gets transplant. I hardly knew any black people getting transplant, especially heart and heart and lung transplants. So I was wondering, because we've got different body mechanics between us and the English, I thought probably wouldn't work in myself. So after I did a bit of research myself, spoke to the doctors a bit more, I was getting a bit more confident, and say about 5 years before my transplant, I was about 70% yes and 30% no. Because a lot of people think having a transplant is easy. You just put it in and out it goes. But it's not like that. There's so much to it. They have to do blood tests, and they explain about the medication. And well, they never told you about the pain or anything like that. It's more about the medication and what they would do and how they would go inside, either by keyhole or they do a major cut. So I had a major cut, but they didn't know that until I was in theatre. It was a bit scary at the time, but throughout the time, and plus I was working, so it took my mind off thinking about what would happen or what may happen, what may not happen. So luckily for me, I just kept on working and fighting and talking to people. Yeah, and that's the main thing, to keep on talking.
Okay. And we're going to take there. And you know what? If you're on the call, I just want you to say, well done. And I want to say, if we could just get active and just give her a little round of applause, because, you know, that shows an enormous amount of bravery. You know?
Thank you.
And I guess also, especially in our community, where, as you rightly said, a lot of people have that different belief. And I mean, I for one never really, I mean, I've always selected to be a donor, but I think it's just, I don't know. I know there's certain parts that I don't want to give, but there's certain parts I'm willing to give, right? But what surprised me when I met you, and even now, is because for example, even to do this talk here, I wanted to post in certain Black groups, and I've been, I actually got denied because they said it's not a topic that is up for discussion. It's not, they don't talk about religion, blah, blah, blah. And they did not, I got denials, right? So it just shows you within our community, just to have the discussion or for somebody to present, it is still considered quite a difficult topic to talk about, you know? So I could just imagine the decision or the internal decision that you had to make. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ask you one other question, and then I'm going to play a little bit of your music so that some of us could just digest that challenge that you had to go through internally to make that decision. Okay, so taking it off a little bit, tell us a little bit. I wrote down a couple of questions here, and I want to just ask, why do you think within the Black or the BAME community, it is such a shortage of donors, and what can we do to improve that? We're going to discuss the legalities in a bit, but I just want to touch on that subject.
Okay, me personally, I think it's because of lack of knowledge. A lot of people don't know much about transplant, organ donation, what the patient goes through or the procedures. They don't know anything. And then there's the myths as well around organ donation, and then you've got the religion as well, as you know. So the reason why I'm out there now is to explain to people the best I can the reason why we need more BME organ donors. If it wasn't for my donor, I wouldn't be here, because after my transplant, I did ask the doctors how long would I have had if I hadn't had the transplant, and he said probably a year. So I wouldn't have been here talking to you guys now. So it's more about the religion. They think they're not supposed to give their parts away. They're supposed to die whole and everything. But once your spirit's gone, your body is just
yeah, that's correct.
Just empty shell. So you might as well help someone who needs it. Because did you know that one donor can save up to 9 lives? So
oh wow,
could do a lot, you know.
Yeah. On that note, Michelle just said that one donor can save up to 1 life. And I'm going to ask you as the audience to post any questions that you have as we just take a 1 minute or like 30 seconds break to digest that. You know, any questions that you have right now, right, whether you're against it or for it, can you pose or say, make a statement on the chat? And I'll ask Carol to read out some of those answers in a minute. But as we think about the impact this has on our community, the impact it had on Michelle and where she is, where she was and where she is now, right? I would love for you to make any comments on what you feel we should be doing more of or less of. Any comment, nothing is too, as long as it's not like really invalid, right? As long as it's valid, you know, something comes. Please leave, and I'm gonna play a little bit of Michelle's music, and I'm gonna also share my screen to just put up the next topic that I'm going to discuss with Michelle.
Yes, Carol.
So are you still hearing it?
Oh no, it's gone off.
Okay. Well, we'll go on to we're just going to go on to the slideshow. And the topic I'm going to be...
Yeah.
Wow.
How you doing? Oh no. My story. Say it, LeJune. You don't know my story. Anguish and the guilt that consumed me. Grateful I can tell it. For no more shall the shackles condemn me. You don't know the story. For if you did, you would lift up your hands. So just let me tell you, faith you may as well break out and dance. I love this about God, because even though I'm not perfect, my story proves that God can and my deliverance. And I want to share some testimony. You don't know. Somebody needs to know my story. It would blow your mind. Can I get a witness? You don't know the story. It is through my testimony that I overcome.
Okay, so we're gonna move back to you, Michelle.
Okay.
And that is quite a powerful music. I want you to, before we go into the law, which is my next, just tell me why that song is so meaningful for you, and tell us that big mission that you have.
It means a lot to me because no one really knows what us transplants go through, especially what I've been through. I didn't expect to go through what I went through 2 years ago. Having the transplant, it meant the world to me, but I was a bit scared in having it. So towards the end, I was about 80% yes and 20% no, because we get to be told quite a few things about having a transplant. Things like once you're on that theatre table, the organ may work for 5 seconds or 10 minutes, you know, an hour, 2 days. So I was thinking, as long as I get past having the organ in me, just getting up after the anaesthetic, I knew that I knew I'd be okay.
Yeah.
But there was things in the back of my mind thinking, and I was thinking, what if the organ doesn't work?
Yeah.
And I may have to go through it all over again, or I may not be here to tell the tale. No one knows our story at all. And because a lot of people don't understand what transplant goes through, all of us transplant, we know what each other's been through and what each other's thinking. So say for instance, most of us, we can't take a lot of stress in our heads, even if it's petty stuff. We can't take too much in our heads. So when we're all together talking about what we don't like and what we dislike, it's not just the one person who's going through it, it's all of us who's going through it. So it's like our own little world.
Yeah.
And we understand each other.
Okay.
Yeah, and the pain that you go through after the transplant, to me, I thought only a man's supposed to go through that kind of pain, because having a lung transplant, you're in a lot more pain than a heart transplant. So I remember lying in my bed and I could see across everybody who'd had a heart transplant, and they were sitting up like, they're fine, there's no pain. But me, oh my gosh, I was in so much pain. I was on morphine all day for about 3-4 days. And when you have a lung transplant, you have to cough. And it's very painful. So you have to bring up all the phlegm off your lungs. So you're coughing and spitting all day just to relieve your lungs. So you're having that. It was just excruciating pain. But after the 3rd day, it kind of like eased up, but you were still in a lot of pain. Can you remember? They kind of like cut your breastbone, and my breastbone is held together with a very strong pin. I don't know what kind of pin they get to put that together, but yeah, it was a lot of pain.
Okay. And Michelle, thank you so much. And I know, yes, I think most of us have been through a little operation we have taught, but to go through something that is so integral part of life, we need our lungs. Yeah. It's just one of those, you just need it, right? And so to just imagine the thoughts you may have had. You had a little girl, or a big girl, with children are always our children. You had a family, you're thinking about the what ifs,
Yeah.
But now moving on a little bit, I want to talk about this, the law is changing in England. This is the slide here. And I remember when I said to you, okay, that I'm talking to you, I said, is there anything that particularly that you wanted me to show? And you said, slide 12, Eva, because and I hope it's the right slide I have here.
Yes, it is.
And it is to do with changing the law. And I know you're on a mission to educate people
I
and
am.
people to help increase the BME donor registration. So that is what part of your mission. That's correct?
Yes, it is.
So I brought up this slide here, and I want you to just explain to people, just in a few minutes, what this means to everyone and what it doesn't mean. Because I know a lot of people, when it was coming up, a lot of people, there was a lot of, I don't want to use the word scaremongering, but there was a lot of talk about it and to go quickly and re-register yourself and that type of thing. So I want you to talk a little bit about this change, what it means, and then we're going to look at who can be a donor, right? And what organs people can donate, because I think you do have choices. I think we do have a choice. And in life, everything is a choice. Well, I see it as a choice. Okay, and I hope some of you would share the same philosophy here. So Michelle, tell us a little bit about the law is changing, how this law is changing.
As you know, the law changed the 20th of May, which means that as you can see, if you have not recorded this decision on the NHS organ donor register, you can opt out of organ donation. You will be considered that you want to donate your organs. So everyone in England is a potential organ donor. So if you want to opt out, you have got the option to opt out. And those who don't share the decision, they will still be considered to donate their organs. So you can either sign off and donate your organs, or not sign off, but you will still be considered as an organ donor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is very different, because I know previously, I know I used to do it through my driver, I think it's driver's license. You had a bit on the form that you then could opt in and choose what organs. Yeah. But now what they're saying is that you are a donor unless you opt out.
Yeah.
And that, I think, psychologically is a change for people.
Yeah.
Right?
I wasn't really happy about that, but what I want to do, or what I'm trying to do, I try and give people information and knowledge, talk about myself, and leave it with them to go and talk to the families, and just talk about it. Don't just make a hasty decision.
Okay.
Talk about it first, get information, talk to the NHS, or even come to myself and find out what I went through. It's best to talk than just to be hasty.
So it's for you, it's very important for people to have this discussion.
Definitely.
With their families.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially within the BME group as well. We don't like to talk about these kind of things.
But now, even with them, it's a default now, that you are a donor. So it's important that because otherwise, upon something happening, there's lots of issues because of people making assumptions that permission wasn't given. So it's important that we have the discussion now that you are a donor, and if you don't want to be a donor, that's correct.
Really important that you do discuss it, because if you don't record your decision and you went out then had an accident, okay, they will still consider you as a organ donor. So it's best to register your decision now or opt out, just to be on the safe side, because your family member is going to be devastated, and there's no record to say that you said that you want to be opt out. So I would, me personally, I would record your decision now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Carol, is there any questions surrounding this on the chat?
Right. Yes, Katai has raised her hand, so would like to actually vocalize her comment, and also Janetti would like to vocalize theirs. So Katai, if you'd like to unmute yourself and go ahead, is that all right, Eva?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle. Just to say, also, I've had a transplant.
Okay.
For real? What did you have?
I just kept quiet. I wanted to listen to your story.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah,
found somebody. I found a body.
quite a few actually. You'll be surprised. Yeah.
What did you have?
I had a kidney transplant,
Okay.
2018.
Wow.
Wasn't reason was I don't know how to actually explain this. I didn't have any genetic conditions, nothing at all. It was a case of an operation I had and things didn't go well. And yes, kidneys unfortunately got damaged, leading to dialysis, leading to transplant.
No.
Okay.
That is my story. So I'm sitting here thinking, I know exactly what you're feeling, what you've been through, exactly the same as myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
just to
you're on a
stay,
lot of medication as well.
yeah, on immunosuppressants as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You've been
but
shielding.
shielding, yes.
Yeah.
Gone out for my walk safely. Tend to
Okay.
go out in the morning because I can get up at 6 or 7, no problem. That's just me. But
Okay.
just to say, I understand obviously totally, and what I went through mentally, emotionally, physically, something else. I can tell you that the people who wanted to donate to me were not the same color as me. I had my friend from the Netherlands, bless her, wanted
Wow.
to donate. She couldn't because she had a baby. You know, women who've had children cannot
Mm-hmm.
donate.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, he wanted to donate, bless him, but he had diabetes. And I said, no, you can't because of diabetes. Um, yeah, a few other people.
Okay.
So, but it's a hard topic to discuss amongst us. Um,
Especially in the BME group.
yeah, especially the
Yeah.
BME community. That's correct. Really hard. People just shy away from the topic. People are scared.
Yeah.
Um, just a frightening thing for them to talk about. I just hope that I can do something positive to encourage other people. I do talk about it to family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I educate myself in different ways. So I'm here in Oxford. So I go to transplant meetings, conferences in Belgium. I've been to 2. Yeah.
Very
Okay.
good.
So it's always interesting
Mm-hmm.
as you go to these things to see who's around you, you know. So I remember when I first went, I'm sure maybe there were two black people. I'm sure of it.
Okay.
Maybe it's just myself and the other person was mixed race, something like that. So I thought, hold on, we need more
Yes.
people to come to these things. Um, obviously, this, you know, the transplant games. Obviously, you took part, I think, Michelle. So
Yeah, last
I
year.
wanted to try, but you know, it didn't happen this year. So never
It was
mind.
on to next year, so hopefully we can do it together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I met some amazing people at transplant conferences, and they said, why are you not in the transplant? I didn't even know, you know. So I started networking, increasing my confidence that you're okay, you're human, because you lose a lot of your confidence.
Yes.
I don't know, you just everything's just gone, and you have to build yourself up. You have to educate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after transplant, you need to look after yourself. That people just think, oh, you're fine because you look well.
No,
You know, you look well, Michelle, you know, but I know what you've
full-time
been.
job. It's a full-time
Yeah.
job when you give
Yeah, you
medication.
look amazing. There's nothing wrong with you. You can't even tell I've had a transplant. I bet nobody can tell.
No.
No. Well, you know, ladies, I think one of the things you all could do, I don't know if you've started that journey, is probably look as well as having a subgroup of BME, subgroup of trans, you know, people being through, so that collectively you can, you know, start educating our community a lot more. As I said, even me, and I've had a little operation, just a little hernia, and that was scary enough for me. I was like leaving, making sure the will was in order. And that was just a hernia. So you know what I mean? I think I don't know how if you could do it collectively, right? But we do. And as I said, this week alone, yesterday,
Yeah.
I put out a couple to some groups that were BAME, support groups, business group, and I got denials for just the post that this meeting was happening. you know, because they said it's not a topic that is I guess, interest. I looked for one of the denials that said, yeah, it's not a general topic to discuss. So they didn't share the post. You know, I think Jeanette, just moving on slightly, I think Jeanette had a question to ask, and I'm just going to ask Jeanette to quickly unmute herself.
Hey, Shell. I'm so, oh, sorry, VFD 1400. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Katai.
Katai. Katai, I'm so pleased. Not that you've had the transplant, but I'm so pleased for Michelle that you two can link up first and foremost.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm coming from the perspective of looking after several people that have had kidney, lung, or heart and lung transplants. So although not going through the process myself, thank God, I know the process of caring for the people that have gone through it, and it is absolutely horrendous. The pummeling physio that you have to give them, the turning.
Don't give you a day. Don't give you a day.
It's just constant, absolutely constant. And the mentality of picking them up, you know, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, to say, come on, you can do this, you've got this. You know, you're really walking the journey with them, and it is a long process. You know, so the self-esteem, the body dysmorphia of you don't look anything like you did, and everything else, it's traumatic. So you two, I'm in awe personally, because the first time I got to know of Michelle's story, I just wanted to connect with her immediately, and I've been in her corner ever since. When she posts something, I'm trying to share it. Katai, you know, if you post it onto Michelle's things, I would do the same for you. But I've worked for the blood bank. And the job that I do as well, I've constantly endorsed about giving blood because I support sickle cell.
Yeah.
You know, but I ask people, what is the most important thing in your life? And they go through loads of different things. And then I come back to the most important thing in your life is life.
Yes.
End of. Right?
Yeah.
And then what would you do to save your child? And then a lot of them says, oh, I'll give my life for my child. You see where I'm leading to?
Yeah.
And then that opens the floodgates of discussing with them, well, if you would give your life for your child, then who's going to look after your child after that? You know, and all these different kind of things. And I says that giving blood is a way that you can extend the lives of others, you know, your community, your family, and so on and so forth, that you wouldn't think twice to save. But if it was on the other hand, if it was you that needed the blood, you would hope that somebody would do it for you. If your child needed an organ, you would hope that somebody do it, because it's not necessary that you would be a match for your own child. It could come from somebody thousands of miles away. So it is a delicate subject to go through, but it must be discussed. And Shell and Katai, trust me, if you need an ambassador, you know, I don't ramp. I'm telling you, I don't ramp, right? And I would speak on any platform for anybody. If you can't open up your mouth and do it, I'm sure you can, because you've been there. I'll blow it up for you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you. And with that in mind, I just want to share a little bit more of Michelle's presentation. And ladies, you know, one of the things that come in, I mean, like sometimes you know of people who are born with a hole in their heart, and so they do need that transplant. But both your stories came from much later in life, or came later on, you know? So it wasn't something that you were necessarily know at childbirth. And I think in our community, sometimes people think that it's something you're born with, or you know what I mean? And they don't relate. And I think in life, we just need to realize that your products, your services, and all that, there's much bigger something out there that you need to give to. You know, there's something bigger than just that, and that is life. And the life of someone could be just as big.
If I could just mention one other thing, I was diagnosed with interstitial lung disease, so that's scarring and stiffening of your lungs. And I was also diagnosed with mild hypertension. So I had a lot of strain on my heart. At first, I wanted to do a heart and lung transplant. No, I wanted to do a double lung transplant, then a heart and lung transplant. But luckily, I received my donor, my organ donation, and only needed a single lung transplant. So right about now, I've already got one lung. My other lung is still there, but it's not doing anything. So that's why I have to be extra careful around this coronavirus, COVID-19. Yeah.
All right, just quickly, because we're coming up to approaching that time.
Okay.
And so we could talk about this, we could go on, and I think it's worth it in another couple of months to revisit this topic so that we could bring it more and more into our community and make it not that kind of hidden topic that we shouldn't talk about, you know? Yeah. So I'm going to talk, Jennifer's on the call, and she, you know, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, is the CEO of BAME. And that we must bring this topic, even if it's every 90 days, every 3 months, bring it back so that we bring more and more awareness, you know? Lung, kidney, it's growing. And Michelle, you could build these friendships, and girls, as Jeanette said, we need to blow it up. You know, people have a choice, but you know what? Information is powerful, and we just want to give them that information. So
and I'll still keep on doing my talks.
Yes.
I'll be going to my events once everything is safe enough to go out, but yeah.
So just a quick here that you said, people excluded groups, people under 18, and those who cannot, those who lack the capacity to understand the change, and people who live in England for less than 12 months and are not here voluntarily. Yes. Yeah. So they cannot donate.
No, they can't.
We talk here, yes, you still do have a choice, which Michelle mentioned earlier, that you do not want to be on it. And I just want to go back to a diagram I saw earlier. What organs and tissues can be donated, right? So you see, we've got the heart, the kidney, the pancreas, the lungs, the liver, the small bowel, and the eyes, you know? So this is just some of the, you know, that, as you said, you could help up to 9
lives,
9 individuals, you know? So it's just to bear in mind, they ain't taking your whole body and nobody's going to see it again, and, you know, all those stories that go around. It's individual parts, and as we say, it's our spirit that leaves, you know? So it's just to bear in mind, people, this is not something, it's something to have a discussion with. Let people know your feelings on it. It's not something that we should keep in the closet, you know? And on that note, Michelle discussed a lot about what you needed to do, who can be a donor. And so does anybody have any other questions on the organs and tissues to donate? No, I'll take that as a, let me stop sharing my screen so I could go back to seeing all your beautiful faces. Right? And also, guys, we want to share this with our men folk, because I'm looking at this list here. How many guys do we have on the call? I don't think we have a single. Do we have one? Say yeah if you're a male somewhere there.
No man.
No males. So we gotta get our males involved, right?
Yes.
We gotta get them talking about it.
We did have some registered, but they haven't shown up.
They didn't. So they're there quietly supporting. So, you know, we females, we gotta talk about it in our homes. We gotta talk to our sons about it as well, because, you know, they too, it starts from now. You know, their behaviors, male behaviors start from now. From the way women carry big handbags with loads of junk in it to men carrying it in their pocket. It starts from now, right? So educating them, we have to do that from now, okay? So let's talk about it. On the kitchen, just like, you know, yes, it's a scary thing, but we need to break that taboo.
I think Donna, if I'm correct, you mentioned that one of the things that stops people thinking about it seriously is because we don't like to think about our mortality.
That's correct. Yeah. I remember the Will writer that we have as part of our group. He said that you know, people just, you know, our community just don't want to make a will because it's like it's going to preempt something, and they have all these taboos. But you know what? We just still have to educate people. And bit by bit, we're going to break down, even if it's with the next generation, we're going to break down those taboos. Okay. So on that note, we're now coming up to 10 to the hour. And I'm going to just before I talk a little bit about BAME, and how you can show your support for this wonderful organization. And just asking again, any more questions? Anybody want to open up their mic and share anything?
Yeah, can I just, Eva, can I just mention that Michelle knows our BAME, we are supporting Michelle in terms of her mission and her charity and what she's doing. I think there's a few things coming up this year, hopefully, fingers crossed, and next year. And I think the vice chair is at the forefront of that. So yeah, so we've taken on Lungs for Life as one of our charities, you know, so we are there in the background. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that, I might be speaking out of term, but I don't think a lot of Black people like to donate their organs. Okay, there is a bit of probably wariness about that process, especially if your loved one passes away. So that's the area that probably needs educating more so. Okay, so you know, spreading the word is definitely a good thing, but then we have to look within ourselves. What do I think? What do you think? What does Eva think? What does Carol? Would you do it? Okay, so I think sometimes we need to speak to ourselves and be honest about what do we really think about lung donation. You know, so it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah, definitely.
Well done, Michelle. Yeah, you're a trooper, and there to support you anyway.
Yeah, and now you've got another ally, and so we're getting there. There's no two, so we can make it more, right? Just sharing your stories, share what you go through, you know, because some of us make the decision, but it's not so easy for others, you know.
So, I'm part of I'm working alongside building Transplant, NHS, also organ donation. And the main topic that we're talking about is how we can spread the word, especially in the BME group. Yes. So at the moment, we're trying to do things like I've done a video, like you're seeing. So I've done 2 videos, but there's not a lot of Black transplant, like myself, patients. So I would love to speak to, is it Kaya?
Katai.
And see if she would like to tell a story. Because we are looking for more, you know, stories from transplant patients. So it'd be great to talk to you. I've seen your email, so I'll be in touch.
That's wonderful. And you know, guys, I know, even prior to meeting you, Michelle, and I was so inspired when I met you. I mean, I know when I look at that list, right, one of the things is I know in the past when I selected to be a donor, and I could speak about it, I used to on the driver's license, I would take out eyes, because I was always, if something was to come back, I wanted to be able to see. And the worst part of me is my eyes, but it's the one I wanted to save. You know what I mean? So, you know, let people know that there's options. You know, you don't have to do all. You don't have to, you know, they can select that, okay, you know, kidneys is quite, I'm happy with kidneys because I know people who've had to, you know, so it's a conversation to be had inside. I was happy to let go of a kidney, but not the eyes that give me issues. I have to wear contacts and everything like that. It's a conversation I had with myself many years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's okay to make a choice, you know? So let them know, but you still have to give them that education, you know? So I want to say thanks to, I know it's now 7 minutes to, and I want to thank everybody here who's on the call and who's here to support mission and who's here to tell the story and who's here for the first time to see what BAME is all about. And I'm going to just actually, because the chair is on here and Carl is on here, and I think they might do a better about what BAME is about, because you'll be hearing my voice all evening. I'm going to hand over just to tell us some of the benefits. Well, I'll share my benefit. For me, BAME has been, I've loved being a part of an organization of not only like-minded people, but an organization that is representative of me as a Black woman, right? Trying to building a business. I have part of lots of other organizations, but I also want to be a part of one within my community and support projects within my community. And that is the value of BAME to me, okay? And there's lots of other reasons. There's the green card. Well, I don't think we call it green card anymore. I think it's the BAME card, which happens to be green, which is a list of other organizations, businesses, where you could get discounts on your products, where that offers discounts on their products and services. I think we've already started the BAME Market Day. So it's not necessarily only about products, but also looking at other people's services. And we, as we mentioned, we support Michelle in her charity, and I think there's 1 or 2 other charities within the organization. But I'll just pass this over to Jennifer and Carol.
Yeah, okay. Well, again, thanks, Eva. You've done a good job, so I don't need to say anything else anyway. But yeah, well, the foundation to BAME was because there was a lack of representation. There was always the individual Black business doing their thing without support, in some cases without the knowledge. And the local authority realized that there need to be a collective of people in the business and community world just to share their experience and to point them in the right directions. BAME, it wasn't just an idea. There was about 12 months of research, and that's by going around to different organizations, talking about the concept, just to find out if people thought it was a need. When it came to the conclusion there was a need, working with a research organization called CREM, and they actually do research on behalf of the government, they're based at Birmingham University. So that confirmed to me that an organization like BAME needed to be birthed, you could say. BAME is a business and a community organization, and the main aim of BAME is to support people who need to, well, find the right direction towards a business goal as well as a community goal. There's various different assets of BAME in terms of the WhatsApp group, the platform we've got here now. There's various other assets of BAME, and we are growing, gradually. We've got a website, we've got so many different areas of BAME, and we're always looking for more people to join BAME so they can actually see the benefits of being a member. But I'm sure Carol will have another.
Carol, can you post a link to the website? The website is
already there.
And it's www.BAMEclub.business.club.
BAMEbusiness.club.
Yes, BAME business. And just before we end on the last final note, I'm just going to give Michelle a chance to just say what is the next steps for anybody on this call right now, and how they can support you. Please tell us about the bag.
Oh, the sponsor bag.
Yes.
Yeah. So last year I was in the British Transplant Games, and I had a GoFundMe page, and I raised over £950. So this year I was going to do the same thing, but due to circumstances, it's been cancelled. So what I've done is I set up another GoFundMe page to raise donations for the Papworth Hospital, especially in the transplant team and patients. So for all the newly transplanted patients, they're going to receive a goodie bag just to cheer them up and put a smile on their faces. These bags cost £10 a bag. So if you'd like to sponsor a patient or two, it's only £10, and the patient will know your name. So once you sponsor the bag, you leave me your name, and the patient will receive your goodie bag, and and they will know exactly who that bag came from. So if you'd like to go on to sponsor a bag, now Royal Papworth Hospital, so that's RPH.
I'll share the link.
Okay.
So I'll share the link later on so that anybody could click on that link. But I just wanted to mention it. I know it's a bit of a longer link. So I'll share the link. So look out. Also, if you're new to BAME, can you join our Facebook page? which is BAME Business and Community Organization. Can you search for that on Facebook? And the link will be in one of the messages there. I'm going to share it tonight when I'm finished with this call. And I'm also going to share it in the WhatsApp community. Okay? So on that note, and to be on time,
Wow.
and I know Michelle has a busy schedule.
I got
She's
the
off.
quiz at 7:30.
Yes. So
Yeah.
on that note, I want to thank everybody for coming on to the call, and do join us every Saturday at 6 p.m. for an audience with. So
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you, Michelle. Well done.
And her supporters and other people who've been through similar to Michelle. Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
I was just hoping, Michelle, that you'd share about what you're rushing off to do next.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Carol, because I was on it last week and it was blinking awesome.
Thank you, Janetti. Thank you. And my mum was on it as well.
I came second and I had no help at all.
You did really good.
Just share quickly. You got 1 minute, Michelle. Tell us what you're off to do.
I'm going to a wholesale quiz night. So all the proceeds will go to 3 organisations: Pathways Hospital, domestic abuse, and
Wait. Yeah.
and Sepsis UK as well. So it's going to be a fun evening.
A family event.
Yes, it is. And children can get involved as well. It's for everybody, old, young, children, everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much. And
Well done. Well done, Shell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Well done.
night,
Well done,
everybody. Enjoy your
Eva.
dinner.
Thanks,
Well
Eva.
done, Eva. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Carol, you're always there. Backbone of Babe. Well done, Carol. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Jen.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Marcy.
Have a wonderful
Janetti.
evening and
Bye,
weekend.
Katai.
Yeah,
I've
see you next
emailed you,
week.
Bye,
Katai.
everyone.
I've
Keep in
emailed
touch.
you.
Take
Okay.
care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Yvonne. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Okay, that was